in the world. We are going to specifically say this is a dedication interview to those who are both in Zimbabwe and in the UK. Today we are joined by none other than Wadzi Paspamire. She is involved in a lot of things. So how are you, Wadzi?
I'm doing well, thank you. I'm taking each day as it comes in this quarantine, but I'm doing well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm honored to have someone of your capacity. You command a big following on YouTube. You are doing a lot. If I checked very well your profile. So before we can we can say anything, what I would just want to say is I am really honored to have you on this show. There are a lot of things which the followers, those people who are going to watch us, there are a lot of things which they don't know about yourself. Myself, I took a while. I was researching about you. I had to write down some few notes here, some few questions, but I'm sure it will be good and better for your followers, both on YouTube and those who are viewing us today, to know more about yourself. So I will start this way. Maybe if you can just tell us a bit of yourself, just in brief, then we can go into the business of today.
Yeah. Okay, so essentially by day, I'm a technology risk analyst for a global professional services firm. So essentially it's an IT auditor type of role. And I'm working towards my chartered accountancy qualification in that role. And then by night, I create content. I have a YouTube channel called Wadzi's World, where I aim to tell stories and share my experiences through traveling the world and going on adventures, or literally just living my day-to-day life and hoping that there's an experience that I go through that can inspire someone else who's watching my videos.
Tell me something. You talked something to do with your YouTube channel. What drove you? What inspired you to then create your own YouTube channel at that such a tender age? By then, I'm sure it's in 2017, if I'm not mistaken. What inspired you?
So in 2017, it was actually the final year of my undergrad degree. And I've always loved traveling. I've always been a curious person. I've always been naturally curious. I like adventure. So the premise of my YouTube channel when I first started was to share my travel experiences with people. If someone is going to a particular country or a particular destination, then they can tune into my videos and they can get hints and tips on how to, or where to go, sorry, and what to do in that specific place. And then as my YouTube began to grow, I realized that I also enjoy sharing my experiences with people. I enjoy creating a sense of community, because I think as people, we're all going through something, and it's not often that we speak about those experiences or we share those experiences. And I realized that there was an opportunity for me to share my experiences and ensure that someone out there who might feel like they're the only person that's going through something can resonate with a story that I'm telling.
We just want to balance the business side and the social aspect, yeah?
Yeah.
You look like you interchanged these two countries. At some point in time, you were in Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
There were some years whereby you were in United Kingdom, interchanging. So just help us, the life experience, I mean, having in both two different worlds, the developed and the developing, your motherland, Zimbabwe, and in United Kingdom.
So you want me to share the experience through that? So just to sort of give a brief overview for everyone who's watching. So I first moved to the UK when I was 5 years old. And then I moved back to Zim when I was 10. And then I moved back indefinitely to the UK when I was 15. So as Stewie said, I've been back and forth, and it's not been a smooth transitioning period. But I think for me, the biggest experience and the biggest benefit, actually, I'll start with that. The biggest benefit of that kind of life is that I have so many people that I know and an extensive network of people. And I've been able to meet so many different people because I've been exposed to different environments. And I think that's where my hunger to meet people, to travel, to interact with people comes from, because I've been forced to adapt sort of ever so often to a different environment. So I think for me, that was the main thing that I took away from having to move back and forth. Obviously, like anyone from Zim, my heart is in Zim. One day I would love to move back and settle down there. But I think for now, I'm just making the most of the hand that I've been dealt and using the tools that I've been given and the gifts that I've been given by God to walk further and further into my purpose in the situation that I'm in now.
Great. It's such an awesome experience. I just wish myself, if I was in your shoes, experiencing both sides, Zimbabwe, United Kingdom. So I just want to come back to the YouTube business, where you are commanding a huge following there. There is an issue to do with content creation.
Yeah.
What can be your advice to a new YouTuber, especially in regard to content creation? Because I'm sure everyone right now, maybe due to this lockdown, everyone is just creating some channels, or everyone wants to be having a channel. But now the issue to do with content creation, I'm sure there you can help us, because you have been in this journey for a while now. What can you say there?
My biggest advice would be, actually, I won't start with my biggest advice. So I started YouTube in 2017, and YouTube looked very different to what it looks like now. And there's all these things that are going on, like the YouTube algorithm and how to get monetized and all these factors that have kind of shaped YouTube over the years. And I actually took a break from YouTube last year, I think because of other reasons, which I think we can dive into later in the interview. But in terms of this specific question, the one thing that I've noticed in my time in YouTube or on the YouTube platform is that it's very easy to lose motivation, and it's very easy to not be consistent. I'm saying that as someone that has struggled with consistency, has struggled with finding motivation when things get tough. And my biggest advice, and I'm always telling this to people, no matter what you do, whether it's YouTube, whether you want to start a cooking channel, whether you want to go into dancing, acting, whatever it is, know your purpose, know the purpose, and know your why. Know why you're doing something, because if you don't know the why, you're going to find it very hard to keep going when things get tough, when the hours at work get long, and now you have to juggle between work and your content creation that you do on the side. If you don't know that why, it's very difficult to justify the continuation of whatever you're doing, because you don't know the purpose of all of it. So that's the one thing that that's the first thing that I would say. Because the second thing that I've noticed, I think people like to get into YouTube for money. And I guess it ties into the previous point. And I would honestly say, if you're getting into content creation of any form and you're doing it for purely a monetary benefit, then you might want to reconsider the motivations behind why you're starting.
That's great. I'm sure a lot of people, they will be assisted here. Those who are watching right now and those who are going to follow this show later on. Tell me something. I realized that you might have been involved into 3 or 4 tasks at one time. There was a time you are working, you have got your employment, you're working as technology analyst, if I'm correct. And then you are almost finishing your chartered accountant articles. You're doing your articles, something like that. We wish you all the best.
Thank you.
And you have been also involved into acting. You were some time back, some weeks ago, you were attending some acting lessons or classes. Tell me the secret. One person, 3 or 4 activities at one time.
Yeah.
How were you managing, or how are you managing?
Do you know what? That's a very good question. I think for me, it was very much trial and error. Especially so with the acting thing on its own, for me, that's something that I wanted to try out. I'm still deciding whether I want to do it as an extracurricular activity that I do on the weekends, or if I'm going to completely stop doing that. But I think for me, the one thing that I had to learn was time management is key. So with my acting classes, it was only 8 weeks of acting class, so I've not touched acting since then, and those were once a week after work in the evening. So it was a sacrifice that I was able to make, and it was an easy sacrifice to make. But especially with YouTube, I think balancing YouTube and work, I have found that very difficult. And again, it goes back to that time management aspect and doing whatever doing what feels right for you. Only you know your workload. You know how well you can prioritize certain things. If you can dedicate time on the weekend to doing that, which for me, I only realized that this year because last year I did struggle with content creation and I'd had to take a break because there was so much going on. But now in lockdown, I'm trying to find a routine so that when we're back to, well, not back to normal, because I don't think we're going back to normal, but when we regain a new routine, it's something that I'm hoping to continue in that breath.
Okay, but tell me something. Who brought this issue of acting on your plate? Because there was a time, I'm sure, before this acting issue came into your way, you were already saying, I mean, in one of your YouTube videos, you were saying, I'm sure, is it YouTube or on your Facebook, your timeline, you were already saying that your plate was almost full. You were having a lot of activities. But then there's this issue of acting. I'm sure you started attending your acting lessons this year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So what motivated you, or who brought this issue of acting on your plate?
I did. It was me. It's acting is something that I've always wanted to do secretly, but I didn't have the money. I didn't have the time. I also didn't have the resources. So I only decided to explore it this year when I felt that, okay, I'm in a position where I've saved up to pursue acting. I've got a bit of time on my hands. And I work in London, so there are resources available for me to act. And at that time, because I wasn't doing YouTube and I didn't have any exams coming up, it just seemed like the perfect time for me to try this out before I do have exams, before I do get back into YouTube. So it was an opening that I had to explore acting, and maybe that's something that I'm going to have to revisit if I decide to go back into doing evening acting classes. But it was something that I wanted to do for a very long time, so I thought, let me just give it a go. I think sometimes we all have this this voice inside of us that's telling us, do this, and if you don't listen to it, you'll go mad. And I didn't want to go mad, so I decided to listen to that voice and take that leap.
Just linking this question to, I'm sure, one of your videos whereby it was having the headline, which I had put on the screen. I will re-put it again there.
Yeah.
You said next stop Oscars. And, I wish you all the best there.
Thank you.
What I mean, what are your objectives? What I mean, in the event that right now you have got the opportunity to then be rubbing shoulders at Oscars.
I receive it.
What are your plans? Yes, I'm wishing all the best. You need to write down this date.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's going to reach fruition. I'm sure. What are your plans? What are your objectives? What can you say about this issue to do with Oscars?
Do you know what? I did that as a joke, hopefully to entice people to watch it and make the video a bit more exciting. The honest truth is I haven't really thought about where the acting idea is going to go. I know I'd like to feature in a play, or at least do something that's a bit more casual, nothing too serious, but to satisfy that creative side of me that does want to go into acting. Because I think sometimes we ignore our hobbies, but they do keep us sane. So for the short term, I am trying to figure out where that leads. If it leads me to the Oscars, I'm not complaining. I'll finish my exams first and become a chartered accountant. But then after that, I don't know. The world is our oyster, so we'll see where the wind takes me.
One of the reasons, we are almost winding up in 2 to 3 minutes to come. One of the reasons why you opened your channel, you talked of the issue to do with the travel experience, your travel experience video, something like that. Can you try to shed more lights there?
In what regard?
In as much as maybe you wanted to show wherever you go so far, since you started in 2017 up until now, was it the issue of traveling and experience? Was it the driving force for you to have your YouTube channel?
Travel was, I would say it was a big driving force for starting my YouTube channel. And I think the reason behind that is the world is such a big place and there's so many places to explore, so many things to see. And I think sometimes there's a problem when, you know, and this is, again, it's all down to opportunity, and some people are given the opportunity to travel, others unfortunately are not. And because I had been given the opportunity to travel, I did want to explore the world and broaden my mindset, because I think travel does that to people. When you do travel, you gain a better understanding of people, and it just widens the range of your thoughts and the range of your ideas. So that for me was something that I'd always enjoyed, was traveling, because I can learn something new and learn about how these people live and how people in this country live, or, you know, traditional food in this country. I always had that curiosity. So for me, I think that's why I enjoy traveling, because it's a learning opportunity. But I also realize and appreciate that not everyone has the opportunity to travel. And something that I hold my hand up high is I've, you know, visited a number of countries, but I've never been to Victoria Falls. So sometimes I know. Sometimes there are things within your own country that you can explore before you go beyond the borders. So one day I'd like to do a road trip of Zim and visit Victoria Falls, you know, all these places, and actually, you know, explore Zim in a bit more depth than the four walls of my home.
I'm sure one thing for sure is that the Department of Tourism and what in Zimbabwe, if one of them is following right now, they are going to make arrangement, because you see, you are now a little bit bigger. You deserve to be given those vouchers for free. You go there and you see one of the 7 wonders in the world.
Yeah.
Tell me something. There's this joke in one of your videos. You talked of Desmond Tutu in regard to your, something to do with your results or something like that. But I just saw the Desmond Tutu aspect.
Yeah.
What this Desmond Tutu meant by the time you were doing your studies, something like that.
So when I graduated from university, so for people who are watching outside of the UK, so in the UK, when you graduate, I don't know if it's the same everywhere else, but the grading is you either get a first, which is the highest grade, you get a 2-1, which is the second, and then a 2-2, which is like a C, so that's the third highest, and then a third, and so forth. So in a lot of graduate jobs and just in general, getting a 2-1 is seen as achieving the standard. I think everyone aims to get at least a 2-1, and a 2-2 is often frowned upon. It's harder to find a job if you've got a 2-2, and unfortunately or fortunately, that's the grade that I received. And there's this joke that Tutu, Desmond Tutu, I don't know what the connection is, but it was funny at the time, so I just made the connection and dropped that joke in the video.
Okay, so you meant the Tutu was the grade which you then got.
Yeah, so Desmond Tutu. Okay. Yeah.
I can understand. I just followed your video, and then there was a lot of jokes there. There was the issue of Desmond Tutu, and I was curious. I said no, I would just try to throw it as a question there. But there's one of your videos you talked of you were obsessed when you were young during, I'm sure, Christmas period. Yeah. And during the day you write something and towards evening there with your cousins, you would display something in front of your parents and elders. Can we say that's where your journey to do with this film and acting, can we say that's where it began?
100%. Yeah. Honestly, I really enjoyed, I would write scripts and do plays, and I really enjoyed giving or presenting those plays to the people that were watching. So 100%, I think that's where my love for storytelling began, was when I would tell stories at Christmas. Yeah.
As a last question before maybe you can say something which you yourself you might want to say, but right now, Wadzi, you are in front of many young, the youth, who might want then to do the same thing which you're doing, those jobs which you're doing. There are many technology analysts, they chartered accountant. You're trying to also, you are beginning this route to go to Oscars. You're also a YouTuber. What can you say as motivational or inspirational to the youth who are following or who are going to watch it later?
The one thing that I would say is, let me just have a think. I think the one thing that I appreciate, and as you were listing everything that I'm doing, and it seems like, you know, some people might be like, oh, she's mad, she's doing too much. But I think the thing is to never limit yourself. As humans, we're such complex beings. We're not, you know, restricted to one route. Because you've studied accounting, you must be an accountant only, you shouldn't do anything else. I think because we are so complex, we shouldn't limit ourselves to one thing. So if you are watching this and you feel restricted in a job or restricted in a specific industry or market, that you shouldn't feel the need to limit yourself or put yourself into that compartment, because just because you're an accountant doesn't mean you can't go onto YouTube, or you can't become a musician, or you can't go into dance. You can do those things. If it's something that is on your spirit and something that you want to do, then you will always find the time. And I honestly think that, you know, a lot of people say that in order to do certain things, you need opportunity, and some people don't have opportunities. But I've seen a lot of people make opportunities. So don't wait for the opportunity, make the opportunity, and, you know, use that to actually step further and further into your purpose.
There's something which we forgot, which I skipped something which is very, very important.
Yeah.
You yourself, you also skipped it, you didn't mention. The viewers right now, they might not know that you, at one time, you were elected a president. You are a good leader. Whilst you were doing your undergrad, yeah?
Yeah.
You need to tell us something there. I'm sure there's issue to do with a leadership role, which you, at one time you were elected there. I'm sure you just need to shed some lights there before you say goodbye to the followers there.
Yeah, so in my undergrad, I was the president of the African and Caribbean Society. So essentially, it was a society that was formed to showcase, to celebrate, and to appreciate students who are from African or Caribbean cultures or descent. So in that year, I did a lot of work with the students that were members of that society. There was a range of things. You know, we had socials, we had a cultural showcase, we would work in collaboration with other cultural societies like the Asian students. So that was sort of the work that I did in my second year, was being the president of that society. So hopefully that means that there's some leadership coming my way in the future, who knows? But it was good practice, definitely.
5 years from now, Wadzi World, your YouTube channel is doing very well.
Thank you.
You are also, you began the journey to Oscars, and I wish you all the best. You are almost to be finishing your articles to become a chartered accountant.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you are involved into the technology analyst.
Yeah.
5 years from now, Wadzi World, Wadzi Pasipamire, with all those things which you are doing.
Yeah.
In 5 years' time, what are you going to be?
That's a very good question. I'm not entirely sure. I think one thing that I've tried to do less and less of is to do too much planning, because then I get very disappointed when the plan doesn't go according to plan. But if anything, in 5 years, I want to have touched people's lives. I want to have encouraged people. I want to have at least motivated one person, or shared an experience that resonated with someone to help them navigate a problem or a situation that they're going through. And also in 5 years, I'd like to have contributed to the wider content creation scene within the community of young Zimbabweans who are not only in Zim, but globally, and bring us together in harmony and unity so that we can work collaboratively for the greater good. Sorry, I lost my...
No, it's okay. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Before we close, things are just coming up here and there whilst you're speaking.
Yeah.
We have a lot of talent as we speak right now in Zimbabwe. I don't know if you followed yesterday there was something good which came out. I'm sure we have got one of our movies which was produced by Zimbabweans, and it's going to be screened on this American Netflix whatsoever. But I'm sure we still need the experience which I'm sure you now have in the film industry. And what can you say about this achievement which Zimbabwe just received yesterday?
I have something to say, because I actually went to the UK premiere for this movie in London, and I was so happy when I got the news yesterday, because it's something that I watched, I think it was January when they had the premiere. So to see the journey that's been going on, and for them to actually go onto Netflix, it's going to open so many doors for us. Like you've said, it's going to open so many doors for people that, have probably felt that this is something that's unachievable, unattainable. It's a distant dream that they might not be able to obtain. So I'm honestly so happy for the entire cast. I've watched the movie. It's such a good movie. And it's only going to get better. And I actually tweeted yesterday, I was like, I'm hoping that the next series to go onto Netflix is Wadzi Pamoyo, because that's another one to watch out for.
And can I tell you something?
Yes.
I'm sure for me to be a bit known now in back home in our country, I've been having all the effort trying to interview one by one this amazing crew of Wadzi Pamoyo. They are amazing. They are very good.
Yeah.
You see, with the little resources which they are having, they managed to produce something bigger.
Exactly.
And I just wish one day to see Wadzi doing something great for our country.
Yeah.
And also, I want to see you few years to come. This Oscar's dream must manifest itself.
Amen. Yes. Thank you so much.
Yes. Yeah. So it has been great. I'm sure myself, I exhausted all the questions which I was having for you. And I don't know if you've got anything to say to your followers on YouTube and people back home. You can mix a bit of Shona, because just prove that to people that maybe are still speaking Shona. I don't know. Sorry.
It's just that my followers, no one's all Taura Chirungu, but my Shona is still there. Don't worry.
So I'm sure. Can you, say everything in English so that we accommodate both followers, the Zim ones and the ones which are maybe scattered in the world?
Of course. Firstly, thank you so much for having me, and I honestly appreciate the work that you're doing and bringing people together on this platform, showcasing the work that we are doing across the globe and showing us that borders are just a construct. We can reach each other wherever we are in the world. We have technology, so we are connected. So thank you, honestly, for the work that you're doing. For me, I feel very honored that I'm on a platform where you once interviewed the cast of Wadzi Pamoyo. So for me,
the producer, I remember from the producer, I started with the producer.
Yes. Honestly, and when you reached out and I saw your YouTube, I was like, oh my goodness, this is such an honor for me. So thank you so much for giving me this platform and for allowing me to speak and to share some of the advice or the experiences that I have with people. And I just hope that your own platform continues to grow and you continue to touch more lives. And, you know, even on that point that you said about the cost of what you are, like, they didn't wait for the opportunity, they made the opportunity. And that's the one thing that I will encourage whoever's watching this: don't wait for the opportunity, make the opportunity.
That's great. It's a Sunday, excluding the pandemic. I'm sure people should have been in churches and what, but I'm sure we are confined in our homesteads. We can still pray whilst we are in the confines of our homes. What I will just say to you today is that thank you so much. I bothered you a lot on your channel. I had to I would try to beg, because you see now when you're dealing with established people, it will be something great if they can respond, because there are some whom we approach and they don't even respond, they don't even say what. But I'm sure I'm thankful, I'm grateful. The present, the blessing which I will just pray for you is your Oscar's dream to manifest.
Thank you.
Yes, it has been awesome. I'm sure the comments, they're still coming. You'll see them on my timeline, I'm sure on my channel. And I will also wish you all the best in your endeavors and everything. I'm sure we are now signing out.
Thank you so much. God bless you also.